Yeah, we were just using our normal tactics, which our tactics is based purely on IEDs and of course gunfire. But we knew that we could, well, to explain it, summarize it, the Taliban knows that they can't beat us. So the Taliban, they've pretty much learned that they can't beat us in a face-to-face battle. We've got way too much firepower, both on the ground and in the air. So the only thing that they knew what to do that was effective against us was the IEDs. So we adapted our tactics to try to reduce the chance of stepping on IEDs. When I was at West Point, when I was a cadet there, I did a semester exchange where they swap midshipmen and cadets. A group of, there was about 10 of us, 10, 15 of us that went there, and so I know the terrain, I know how the Naval Academy is set up, and I know it's very close in comparison to West Point. It's very close to where I live, and it's much more wheelchair accessible. Character is huge. I think a lot of it, just the basics with the little Catholic school I went to, the community I went through. I started out with the basics, but West Point really just buries it into you as well. They just make sure that this is absolute. Like you will lead, and you will lead in the right way. And when I say that, it's not like formal stuff. I'm talking about the absolute things, like you will not lie, you will not cheat, you will not steal, and you will not tolerate those who do. That is the absolute rule. The one I got incorporated into was very physical, but it was also a military training thing, where you'd be going long distances, but with rucksacks and all that. You'd be competing against other ROTC programs, other countries. They'd send in their versions of the academies. We do they call it the Sandhurst competition. I did, no big deal.
It's not really a full city because it's just part of the DC metro area, but it's like a self-sufficient suburb that, you know, it's got its nightlife and a hospital and lots of houses.
PR. PR, nurse, girlfriend. She's got them all.
So the first team was late, so now it's not a doubleheader. The first game's not until 12:15.
Oh. DC and Bethesda are much more wheelchair accessible. So that's why I have a lot more opportunities. Since I'm just recently starting to get out on my own and doing things, just normal things at restaurants, grocery stores and all that, it's better to talk to Lauren, ask Lauren about that kind of thing.
Doing normal things, like going to see a movie. The first time we went and saw a movie together, we've been dating for 6 months, and it was huge that we were able to leave and sit long enough to see a movie. It was amazing. So it makes you appreciate little things like this. So easy to take for granted.
What'd you guys see?
Probably Frozen, recently at least. You enjoyed it.
It was pretty good.
So, Nick was my patient. I'm a nurse, a Navy nurse at Walter Reed. We got a little Navy-Army rivalry going on. But yeah, he's my patient, and he asked me out one night. He bargained that if I went on a date with him, he would go to my Bible study. So that was enough for me.
November 12th is when I was injured, and that day, like I said, it comes and goes as to what I can remember. Talk to the locals, as always. I also had my company commander at the time, because he wanted to talk to the locals. The company commander is the officer who is above my level, and he's in charge of my unit as well as 3 other units just like it. But even when I was conscious beforehand, I can't remember it now. It's almost, I mean, to use an analogy, a traumatic brain injury like that, sometimes, like in my case, the blast itself or everything after the injury isn't the only memory that you lose. Like, my memory before the blast is gone. It's almost like there's a blast radius almost in time.
That it's potentially the record for the U.S. Army.
Right. Yes, that was critical. When I was injured, I was severely injured by an IED. By the time they got me to the first major hospital that I have, which is Kandahar Airfield in Afghanistan, I had to have immediate surgeries. They call it the Voice, and it's this big speaker system across the entire airfield. But the one that happened that day was a call for any and all individuals who could provide blood. So a lot of the blood that I received, if not all of it, was provided by people from all the branches, Army, Navy, Air Force, and also other nationalities. Because CAF is a huge airfield. It's basically a city on its own. And so a lot of organizations or a lot of different types of militaries and nations go through it. So yeah, I had a huge blood transfusion or blood donation from others, and because the blood they were putting into me was basically coming right out, that's why they had to keep supplying more and more and more. They didn't know what my blood type was until was it Landstuhl, I believe, in Germany, right? And I wasn't wearing mine around my neck. I had my dog tags. I typically put them on my belt, and I must have done that, and it came off either by the explosion or just when they took all the clothes off for surgery. So they didn't know for a while, and I think they didn't find out until Landstuhl. My parents, they thought it was O positive, but they weren't certain. So I remember they called my sister, who was here in Ohio, because my mom knew that I had left a set of my dog tags on one of the desks or something. Okay, it says OPOS, and that's what it says for O positive, and that's why they were then they were certain that O positive is what I needed. So yeah, up until then though, yeah, they were checking anything that was blood, they put it in because they knew it wasn't gonna be cycling, and they knew it was needed no matter what. It was either I die or they risk it and put all types of blood in there.
Some hardships, and then really just the inspiration that is your drive and the internship. You're moving forward with a career. What was some of the hardest things to overcome?
Well, it's the time. Yeah, it's just been how long I've had to spend time there. Because the whole thing in general, yes, it was tough, and obviously it's not preferable. I wouldn't suggest anyone get injured on purpose, but the process it's supported by everyone there. It's huge. It's a great source for recovery. But there's no way you can speed up the time. You can't make it go away. And so yeah, being in that kind of place, having a job that is solely about recovery, that's frustrating. When I have to spend 2.5 years focusing on myself. But now that I have this definite goal in the future, that's a huge plus. Because I know I kept for a long time. Like I said, they kept saying, don't focus on anything else, just recover. And that's not very motivating to me. Like, hey, I don't like to focus on me. I like to focus on goals and a mission, you know. And now that I have that, now that I have these opportunities at the internship, and now that I've been told, or I've got a complete analysis itself, and the long recovery is frustrating, but it's necessary. And now that I'm finally approaching that point where I know how I'm going to end up, I know when the end point is and how I'm going to be, now I can set my ultimate goals.